absolutely terrifying tonight as this Steelers team could do nothing. The Texans defense scored 2 touchdowns. The Steelers had none on the night. 30-6 is how this wild card weekend wraps up with the most emphatic victory of the week. And it's a 10-6 game in the fourth, still hanging around, and so often Pittsburgh is able to figure out a way to win a game such as this. But Will Anderson Jr. knocks it out. Sheldon Rankins, as you heard perhaps Will Anderson Jr. share with Laura Rutledge, he dreamed it was going to happen. The scoop, the score, and D'Amico Ryans and the sideline explode as that moved the margin to 11, which made it feel nearly impossible at that point. And now it's just a matter of what's the final score going to be. At 24-6, Kalen Bullock, not only the pick, but as he works it down the sideline, he avoids the shot from Rodgers. He takes it in for the second touchdown of the night for this Texans defensive squad. And Rodgers and Pittsburgh are defeated soundly. Again, it's the 7th consecutive loss for them. First ever road win, if we spin it a bit more positively, in the playoffs for the Houston Texans. We get up to the booth. It's Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. And Joe, the last 2 games that you all have called, we saw an amazing performance from the Seattle Seahawks defense, the 1 seed in the NFC, and now this from Houston. This feels like the type of thing that could propel them on to a Super Bowl. What most impressed you about that side?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. This is a defense that is so good at every level. We talked about it multiple times during the night. It was hard not to. I mean, they were just overwhelming. Aaron Rodgers, it looked like he had no room to do anything. And it was just one of those nights for this Texans defense, and they can just come at you from the edges. They can come at you up the gut. They're really good. And I tell you, with our matchup next week, we've got 2 defenses that will come flying into that game. Last night, the Patriots sacked Justin Herbert 6 times. And if there's a reason why they got past L.A., it's because of the defense. So to me, these are 2 wild card wins that are complements of the defensive units on each team. And we'll see how that shakes out next weekend at Foxborough.
Troy, the unforced errors for C.J. Stroud, obviously a concern, but how easy or difficult might they be to clean up between now and next Sunday?
Well, those mistakes will be easy to clean up. I think the challenging part is what exactly is going to be the status of Nico Collins.
Sure.
It's a big loss if he's unable to play. This game coming in, we talked about it. We expected it to be a low-scoring game. It was for a majority of the time. The defense then kind of breaks it wide open, but I think C.J. Stroud will come back next week. He'll be just fine. The good news for them is they've really been inconsistent offensively, and they've not run the ball particularly well, but tonight they really did. And so that will be another key in this game next week against New England. As Joe said, they've played pretty good defense themselves. So I would expect it to be another low-scoring game going in. But it will bode awfully well for C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans if they can get that running game going with Woody Marks and Nick Chubb again next week like they did tonight.
I'd like to ask you both on the way out about a guy that you've covered that spans literally lifetimes, different teams, different networks, different times in all of our lives, right? And that's Aaron Rodgers, and I heard you talking about it at the end. If this is indeed the end, that's a wrap. We put the book on the shelf. How do you guys both sort of view his place in the game?
I mean, I'll let him go because you played this position, and when Aaron Rodgers was at his best, man, we saw a guy that just could use his legs, his arm, throw off, any platform, whatever you want to say. The guy was unmatched.
Yeah, I mean, as far as how you rank him and all that, I mean, and the numbers speak for themselves and what he's been able to accomplish. I never imagined, to be honest with you, that Aaron Rodgers would play into his 40s, and I'm not so sure that he did either. It's hard to believe. If you go back to 2010, when he won his Super Bowl, that would be the only Super Bowl he would get to play in. And then also that's the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers had made the Super Bowl as well. I mean, that was a long time ago, but it just kind of tells you that you really can't count on anything. As young as those teams were and as young as Mike Tomlin was and Aaron Rodgers, and this is a disappointing end to what has been a great career. But the end usually doesn't happen the way you want it to. John Elway is one of the few. But he had a great career, and he's among the tops for sure.
Yeah, and I think just to wrap up with Aaron, I mean, you know, it hasn't been without controversy off the field. On the field, he's been sensational to watch and been a total professional. Off the field, he is himself. And for some people, you know, they get rubbed the wrong way, but he's kind of always been there, willing to say how he feels. He's interesting. And I think in a day and age where professional athletes kind of retreat to the old cliches, he's been an interesting guy to follow. He's always been very open and honest with us. He's been a joy to watch, and, you know, this game will miss him if this is the end.
As you both described, time passing. It has a way of slipping by more quickly than any of us imagine, and if it is the end, it's been a remarkable run for him. Look forward to our time together next week in Foxborough, fellas. Travel well, and we will catch up there.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks so much, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. As we look ahead to the weekend, undoubtedly you're hanging with bated breath, or maybe that's just our friends in the industry wondering, where are we going next week? On CBS, it'll be Buffalo and Denver. Then Fox will have the 1 seed Seattle welcoming San Francisco. Both the Bills and the Niners on short weeks as they played Sunday and won on the road, and now will be traveling west. And then Sunday, the 3 o'clock game will be in Foxborough for that one, as this Houston defense goes in to take on the 2-seeded Patriots, who used their defense to knock the Chargers out last night. And then it'll be the Bears and the Rams from Frigid.
Drama on Monday Night Football between the Steelers and the Texans. Well, Aaron Rodgers has 37 game winning drives in his regular season career. The last one against Baltimore this year, getting Pittsburgh into the playoffs, but he does only have 2 in the playoffs. As we welcome in our Steelers reporter, Brooke Pryor, and NFL analyst Peter Schrager to talk a little bit more about this matchup. Brooke, I want to start with you. Aaron Rodgers, I was just talking about him. Obviously, he's used to playoff games, but how would he describe his journey so far in Pittsburgh?
Well, Christine, I know that the end of the game is very many hours away, but I want you to pay attention to what happens after the game, because Aaron Rodgers is going to walk off the field with Cam Hayward and Mike Tomlin. It's what they've done every single game this season. Cam Hayward and Mike Tomlin have walked together off the field for years, but this year Cam Hayward went to Mike Tomlin and said, let's bring this old man along for the ride to give him the full experience of being a Pittsburgh Steeler. And that's what the Aaron Rodgers experience in Pittsburgh has been about. He said a couple weeks ago that it has exceeded his expectations because Mike Tomlin has allowed him to be himself and be the leader that he always has been, and he's really been embraced by the guys in this locker room. And that's why this Aaron Rodgers one-year experiment, maybe it goes on, but that's why it's worked so far this season, and that's why the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the postseason.
Yeah, there were so many questions about whether or not Aaron Rodgers was going to fit with this team, obviously, and Mike Tomlin being the head coach of this team. But, Peter, what do you need to see out of Aaron Rodgers tonight in this matchup?
It's interesting. You think of Aaron Rodgers, you assume he's been in the playoffs all these. This is his first playoff game since 2021. Yeah. Last time he played was an NFC Championship game against the 49ers when they got knocked out. And, of course, Detroit beat them in that Week 18 game. Rodgers, it's not like it's house money, but last week was an amazing performance, and now they're in the spot where, oh my gosh, we have a home playoff game. Look, they don't lose at home on Monday night. It's been since week 13 of the 2020 season they've lost in this building on a Monday Night Football game, and I actually kind of like the matchup for them. Here comes Houston, this team that plays indoors, coming here into this cold weather environment. It's cold now. It's going to be frigid tonight. And I think that offensive line might be the most underrated group in the league. Now, Brooke could speak far more eloquently about the ins and outs of that offensive line group. But when you've got Jones and, of course, you've got Frazier, and then you've got these guys who have been stepping up, they held their own in the same exact type of elements last week against Baltimore. I know everyone's raving about that Texans defensive line, but this is a better offensive line than the one that we saw in Kansas City or Buffalo, who could not stop that Texans front.
I like that you said it's not frigid right now. I beg to disagree. I told you my face is numb already. Okay, Brooke, I want to talk a little bit more about this team as a whole as they shift their mindset to the playoffs. What are they thinking about going into it?
I mean, Peter, you just mentioned the house money aspect of it. They're not saying, oh, it doesn't matter what happens tonight, we're just happy to be here. But they are really loose in the locker room this week. They've been playing knockout on this mini basketball hoop. It's been hung on the side of Will Howard's locker. He told me he has been hit with a number of mini basketballs, but that's okay. He's laughing through the pain because this is a team that is really together. And now don't mistake them being loose for being unfocused or unprepared, because Kenneth Gainwell, who by the way won a Super Bowl with the Eagles last year, said that it's important for this team not to be tight, because when you're tight, you make mistakes. And that's the same thing that Patrick Queen said. He said earlier in the season they were pressing, and that was a problem. That is what led to all the mistakes and all the breakdowns. They want to be loose. They want to have fun with each other, because at the end of the day, when the game gets tight, they need to have belief in each other through all of these moments that they've been building all season, going all the way back to being in those dorms at St. Vincent for training camp.
Okay, so they're playing loose. They're playing knockout in the locker room, Peter. What do they need to do to get a win against the Texans tonight?
Somehow stop that front. I mentioned that like they're an underrated group, but this is the best defensive front seven in football that they're going up against. And when it gets to that third and fourth quarter, how can this offensive line stand up against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter and those linebackers who come from all over? That defensive backfield is arguably the best in the sport. Those two pass rushers might be the best pass rushing combo. They were up for the task last week. They put up 400 yards in the air. They were able to withstand, and you saw big production at a Gainwell. Can they do it again tonight? Now, look, it's been a full 8 days. They've had some chance to rest. It's going to be one in the trenches here, and D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke, they're going to send the dogs at Aaron Rodgers, and let's see if he can use those legs, because he did quite a bit last Sunday night. I don't know if he can do it against this group.
All right, Peter, you mentioned it. Only lost one time since 1991 on Monday Night Football, the Steelers have, so we'll see if they're able to keep that streak going. Brooke, you get to go get some warmth.